My role today was to give you a brief overview of Talent Source Network, what it is, how we're working together, and why we decided to work together. But I'm mindful of time, and I'm keen to get you through to Colin Jellicoe, who's HR Director of Morrision Utility Services. Colin's going to be talking about and sharing the purpose, vision, and benefits of Talent Source Network for both the sector, so what we can do when we collaborate and cooperate, but also for the individual companies. Some very brief context from myself. Talent Source Network is a collaboration of 25 leading energy and utility companies. We've come together to address recognised sector needs, existing and future risks as we see it and coming down the track, but also to commit and own these challenges. I mean, Kate highlighted a number of those at the top of the call. If we don't address those collectively, we will face future challenges. And what we don't want to do is avoid these things and for them to fester and become more challenging going forward. So by working as one, we are delivering collective success. Very briefly, we launched in 2017. We are increasingly well established, coherent in terms of our approach, and an influential group of employers. And what matters really is what the employers are saying about it and how they're expressing success metrics. And I'm really pleased to hand over to Colin Jellicoe, who's going to bring the initiative to life and share what it means for Morrision Utility Services.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Aidan. Hopefully everyone can hear me. I apologise in advance. My Liverpool accent is going to be much less elegant than Marguerite's, but we'll crack on. How and why businesses are working together to address key challenges. I'm going to do this really very much from a Morrision Utility Services perspective or MUS perspective. I think our single largest business challenge, and as you heard from Kate, it's not just Morrision, it's across the sector, but our largest business challenge is having and maintaining the appropriate, resilient and sustainable workforce that we need to be able to service our clients, but not just for today, it's for all of the tomorrows as well, which means that quite unlike UK economy normally, we have to look a little bit further ahead than perhaps today. And for MUS, TSN, Talent Source Network, is really a keystone in the MUS strategy around resourcing. We are in our third year with TSN. I've only been with Morrision for just over 2 years. So I joined after we'd been a member for a year. And I guess I had to work out for myself, not being here at the outset of Morrison's involvement, what the value was for Morrision, and what the value was for Morrision in a changing environment and a changing HR and people world. And it really is, TSN really is a key part of our resourcing strategy going forward. And as you've heard, not just from a resourcing perspective, but TSN is a key part of the inclusion and diversity strategy as well. A lot of what I want to share with you, and I think that's a really important word, because one of the key benefits we get from TSN is about sharing. You know, we could have done a lot of this in isolation. We probably could have cracked on and done a fair amount ourselves. But for me, the ability to put our collective sector shoulder behind raising the profile of the sector as a group is honestly what it could be the step change really in how we address and how we resolve the skill shortage in the sector. I'm not sure whether I can control the slides. We'll give it a go. I don't think I can. So Aidan, if you could just drop down a slide for me, that'd be great. You will see now on the screen in front of you a beautifully crafted vision and purpose, which I'll leave you to read. But I mean, really for us, the vision that we have at Morrision in terms of TSN is that it's there helping us to broaden the pools of resource that we have access to, and to positively affect really the opinion of communities and groups of people who traditionally perhaps would be blind to the utilities sector and the opportunities for careers in our world. And therefore the vision, you know, is exactly as it says, is to raise our sector to be the sector of choice in an engineering world, which let's be honest, has a great deal of opportunity. So TSN is a great opportunity for us to collaborate. MUS, and really a strong opinion of mine, is that we need to reposition some of the activities that we have done in Morrision, and perhaps traditionally have been considered to be community engagement or CR, CSR, or social responsibility activities, into what we believe are core resourcing and talent-driven activity. And that really moves a lot of what perhaps have been altruistic or nice to haves into a world where they're really adding bottom line value to our business. And so what TSN does for us is helps us to raise the sector profile, and hopefully Aidan's twigged that's a connection to the next slide there. You can see in front of you, and there's lots of words behind these, and I'm sure that we can share them afterwards. But raise there is about lifting the sector really, and how that appears to people. Get us to a space where the utility sector it has a clear value proposition for sector careers, not just jobs for today, but careers for the long term. It's about collectively lifting our reputation and profile. Not many people understand the depth and breadth of opportunity that the utility sector can bring, and TSN can really help us to do that. From an attraction and visibility perspective, we are enabling the sector to become much more visible to the people. One of the issues with recruitment is a single organisation can't be switched on all the time to recruitment. It has times when it recruits and times when it doesn't. But TSN gives a window into a sector where at least one of its partner organisations will be recruiting, if not more than one. And so we have that 24/7 visibility as a recruitment opportunity. TSN enables access to new talent pools. There's no doubt about that. I'll cover in a second how that's benefited MUS. But from an inclusion perspective, we are absolutely tapping into pools that we've not had before, and there is a strength in depth across TSN, which we believe it creates value for us. The sector-specific collaboration is about us sharing and benefiting from experience, which makes us all much more agile and cohesive as we go about achieving the vision of TSN, but also our vision for our business. And the efficient, we certainly are saving money, and we certainly are cutting through process and time and effort that perhaps we would have spent investigating opportunities. TSN is enabling us to get right to the heart of matters really quickly and to share the costs of those things. So on the next slide, we sort of say, what does this mean for MUS? I just want to cover just one experience of mine that I had when I joined Morrision, and that was way back in April. I say way back, wasn't that far ago, but April 17, and I attended an apprentice assessment centre as one of the first things I did here up in Bradford. Now Bradford's got a BAME representation of about 32% of Bradford's population. And I attended the apprentice assessment centre and sat in front of a room of about 40 people, all of whom were white. And you have to say to yourself, what is going on that we're not tapping in to the communities in which we operate as a business. And for us, TSN has given us the impetus and the drive and also the opportunity for us to do much more about how our reputation sits in the communities in which we work. So we are now recruiting from broader pools. The most recent apprentice recruitment in Bradford has got a much better mix, ethnicity and gender than we've experienced in the past, and it's improving our diversity in the business. From an attraction perspective, and believe me, I've got a CEO, as I'm sure we all have, who's really keen on the pounds, and I keep a focus on this. But from an attraction perspective, in the last 12 months alone, TSN has enabled us to recruit 17 people across both operative and staff grades into our business as direct connections from TSN. It won't be unusual, but we record our savings the same as everyone else will. There's at least a £60,000, £70,000 saving there around using recruitment agencies, and the savings that we've made by using those services that TSN give us access to has been a great help. From an inclusion perspective, TSN has absolutely kick-started inclusion and diversity at MUS. And we're now aiming to be sector leading in this space within the next couple of years, but it has been the kickstart for us. From a sector specific collaboration, we learn and adapt continuously. It's our way, it's what we want to do, and TSN gives us the opportunity to learn all of the time and be very agile in changing the way that we are recruiting and the way that we are raising our reputation and our profile and our brand. When I talk about efficiency, we said before, it spreads the cost. It absolutely does. And every year when I get my invoice from Kate, thank you for that, Kate. Ask the question. Cost is one thing, but what's the value? And we sit down and we go, what happens if we don't do TSN? What do we lose if we don't have TSN? So that's you know, if I next time the invoice comes in and says not this time, what am I not going to get? And I think for me, I'm limiting access to a candidate pool of everybody. Lots of people use TSN as a window to the sector, but specifically, I'm going to reduce the amount of females and BAME candidates who are looking to get into our sector. I'll become blind to the competition, which is not good for us in the competitive place. We'll become less aware of industry strategies, which means, frankly, that we will become a follower rather than a leader. And I'd much rather that I and Morrision Utility Services were in a space where we were leading the sector rather than just being a follower. So if I can move Aidan onto the, that was very good, Aidan. You're getting good at this, Aidan. What's been the impact for NUS? It's a single word really for me: opportunities. There's lots on that slide, but some of the things that we've been involved in with DWP, running mentoring circles in Bradford, as we mentioned before, where 58% of the people who have been on our programs, on our mentoring programs in Bradford, now have jobs. Really successful. We're working with Careers and Enterprise Company to develop our STEM work. And last week, along with our friends at Cadent, we signed up to Youth Friendly Employer by joining Youth Employment UK, which is focused on 18 to 24-year-olds. And I think one thing that's really key for me, and perhaps I haven't thrown too many stats at you, but I'm about to. So this is the moment where you can either switch off or write these down. But primary engineers is really important to me. It's real interest for us as a key focus. I did some stats recently when I did a presentation for the Institute of Water. This year, 2019, is the lowest year for 18-year-olds coming into work since 1977. So the birth rate has been such that it has continued to drop and will continue to drop for another year until the lowest birth rate, which puts 18-year-olds into the job market, is 2020. And then we've got 9 years of continual growth with 20% more 18-year-olds entering the market by 2029. So that means that the peak year birth rate is 2011. And I'm in one of those positions where I've got a 7-year-old, nearly 8-year-old, and I know that she goes to primary school, and one day a month she attends an engineering day, and our sector's not represented, and I think we're missing a trick. I think if we're looking to get our attraction piece to the people in utilities for tomorrow, then primary engineer programs and our work that we do with primary schools is absolutely key. And if we choose to ignore it and we don't use TSN and all of the links that TSN are building, then we will be saying goodbye to those candidates, to the rail sector, to aerospace, and to other engineering sectors. So TSN gives us that window, and it's a great opportunity for us to get into that space. Opportunities wise, we've had more than 300 apprentices in the last couple of years, and we'll employ another 80 this year. The number of recruits through armed services is increasing constantly, and TSN's referrals to our NCO training programs, our network construction operative training programs, has been significant. So hopefully I haven't gone beyond my time, but just in summary, for Morrision Utility Services, yes, we face challenges, and there is no silver bullet, but TSN is a key facilitator in reaching out and broadening our resource pools, tapping into new and exciting talent, and that's delivered with real sincerity. We are attracting a different talent set to what we have before. It supports our inclusion strategies and has given Morrision the opportunity to lead, along with our partners, taking the sector skill shortage from a challenge into an opportunity, so that we can make a substantial and significant difference to the world of utilities. Thank you for listening. I hope you've been listening. I hope you've been able to hear me. I'm going to hand you back to Aidan.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that overview, Colin. Some really helpful and thoughtful insights, and I hope people on the call have heard those key messages in the way they were sent and received. So thank you for that. I'm going to be very brief on my next slide, which was a slide of challenge. So members on the call who are yet to be convinced that this approach is right for the sector and potentially their business was a so what. And I've shared a number of key statistics there in terms of the journey we've been on with Talent Source Network through our members, with their support, to deliver a larger pool of available talent into our businesses. Our statistics on women, on BAME, around visibility and profile, and retention of skilled labour within the sector are all there to be seen and heard. And the call to action I would like to summarise on this slide really is a question really. Is Talent Source Network a sector initiative that can add value to your business and you as an individual? I'm acutely aware, and it's been mentioned a couple of times, there is a vast expectation on us as businesses and on us as individuals to deliver a wide range of initiatives. Talent Source Network's been proven to share the load, and I'm really keen to have conversation with businesses post this call who can add value to this initiative at this time to ensure our long-term sustainability. I'm going to pass that on now to Kate to summarise in the last few minutes and then take some questions.
Right, thank you, Aidan, and thank you, Colin and Marguerite. So I think it's been some fantastic insights that you shared. I think just really to summarise, we've talked about the inclusion commitment that's been made by leadership in the sector, and there's an opportunity for you to join if you're not already part of it. So please do, if you're not part of it and it aligns to your own organisational strategies, please do join. I think the more we can do together and leverage what we're doing together and raise the visibility, the better. You've heard also about Talent Source Network, which is the inclusion commitment in action, the network of employers working together to really look at sector profile, sector attractiveness, ensure we're sector of choice, but targeting some of our underrepresented talent pools so that we increase the diversity of our workforces. So again,